Okay, so we are starting with a new cup today. This is going to be a coffee swirl cup. It's going to get this great decal that I printed on printable vinyl that says coffee spelled backwards is EFOC. I don't give a fuck until I've had my coffee. So that's my decal that's going to go on in a bit. I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to use Pinata Blanco Blanco white alcohol ink. From Tim Holtz, I have teakwood and caramel. And from my Pixis set, I have spice, and this one is cocoa. You can hardly see the label, but I promise you it's cocoa. So, I already ripped the top off of this, but this kit came from Diction Epoxy. It says Diction Epoxy Resin Kit, 16 ounces. They sent this to me to try, and I like to try things on alcohol ink swirls. To me, it's just a really good indication of how a resin is or isn't going to work for me. So, inside they have a couple of measuring cups. These have spouts for the bottles. It's got a couple of pipettes. Set those aside. I'm not going to need them for this cup. This is the epoxy resin, Diction, the A and the B. This mixes equal parts. And it's just got a little kit with some throwaway gloves, some finger cots, some stir sticks, the directions. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a try on this cup because, like I said, I like to use I like to test a new resin with an alcohol flow. To me, it's just one of my best indicators on whether I'm going to like a resin or not. If it can't handle the heat for an alcohol swirl, then it's not a resin for me. So I'm going to go ahead and use these caps. One thing I noticed right away is the caps are not color coded. Most caps are like black and white, but I'm sure if you pay attention to what you're using, that won't be an issue. So I'm trying to get the foil off the top. I'm going to screw these on. And I like to put my B in the cup first. I'm going to use 30 ounces or 30 mLs. I'm going to measure this in front of you guys. I'm not going to go ahead and mix it all completely. I just want to see how they pour through these lids. And the B flows really nicely. It's a little slower, but it'll give you better control having the tops on them. So and when I'm measuring, I get down to eye level so I can see really, really well where I'm at. So immediately cap your one side. That way you won't ever have to worry about getting your caps mixed up. And actually this A is fairly thin too right now, so that's great. I always put my A into my B because the A is thicker, and I feel like I get a better mix if I drop that A down into the B. I don't measure in separate cups and put them into the same cup. I actually feel like I have a better chance of messing up that way, trying to move the resin twice. So I have always mixed this way, and I will continue to mix this way. I'm almost there. So I have to say these caps work great on these bottles. So far, so good. I would like to mix with a plastic stick, but I don't have one handy. So I'm just going to go ahead and use a small wooden stick. And you can see the color change happening. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and come back when this is fully mixed. Okay, so this mixed up really nicely. It is a fairly thin viscosity resin, so it should actually work quite well to this. It doesn't really seem to have much of an odor, which is nice. But I'm going to go ahead and get my turner turned on. I did put I'm going to move my epoxies out of the way. I did put a vinyl glove on over top of a nitrile glove, so I can swap gloves fairly easily. And I'm just going to get this spread on here. You can see how thin this is going on. I'm going to end up dripping a bit off of the bottom. This is a 20 ounce thick, so I am going to use the full 30 mLs because it does have quite a surface area. Do make sure you get the bottom. I do have a piece of paper under my working area because of the inks that are coming. I'm just going to go ahead and use that last little bit. Even mixing with the wooden stick, this mixed with very, very few bubbles. So, we'll see. Done with that, I'm going to move it out of the way. Just going to make sure I get the whole cup coated well. This cup was just prepped and painted white. Again, this is a very, very thin resin. So it's going to be quite runny. It should actually take to heat really, really well. So I'm going to start with these browns. I'm going to get them all open in front of me. Just making sure they're shaken up a bit, mixed. The Pixis ones have like a child safety cap, and sometimes I do struggle to open them. Like that one. So, I'm just grabbing a baby wipe quick. I should have had one out already, but I did not. Just to blot the wet ink off quick. Okay, so I am just going to start and go down my line of colors and pretty much go for basically full coverage over my white to start. The teakwood and the cocoa are both very, very dark. But the cocoa is slightly darker. I'm not entirely certain what color the spice is going to go on. I haven't used this color on one of these. Actually, I really like it, so that's good. And I can already see these colors swirling. And last up is the caramel from Tim Holtz. So I don't think it's going to take much heat to get this resin moving because it's like I said, it's fairly thin. I mean, I can see how it's... So I'm going to take my heat gun. This is a Wagner 550. I'm going to turn my fan up all the way, but leave my heat low. I just want to heat it enough that it has movement and flow. Don't forget to hit the bottom just a little bit. Okay, that should be plenty of heat. And now I'm going to grab my white and come in and start adding drops of white. And this is a brand new bottle, so these drops are going to come out bigger because it's not in my micro tip refill bottle. So I'm probably going to go back over the top with some color. And I feel like this epoxy might be separating a little bit under the alcohol inks. It's hard to say just yet. Okay, so I'm actually, I don't know. I don't really want to give it too much more heat, but I am going to tilt it for a minute and see if it'll move on its own. And it is moving because it's dripping off the top onto my turner. And onto the paper underneath. But I can see where some dry spots cleared out. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of heat. So I'm going to come back in with a little bit more ink, and then I'm going to spread this epoxy out a little bit. I'm actually going to spread it out with my hand to try and cover some of these spots. where it kind of separated and dried. I'm just working it. And I do think I am going to end up with some spots that I don't love. And a couple more swirls of white over. I feel like some of my white turned grayish, which is probably just a result of one of the colors. Just gonna let it spin a minute and put one more drop of that cocoa on those white spots. I feel like this is turning more earthy than coffee. But I'm going to go ahead and hit it with heat one more time. See what happens. I'm going to tilt it while I heat it. Gonna run it up first, then run. I'm just going to bring it back up a little bit. Okay. So I do have a couple more spots that opened back up. Nothing major, but I'm going to go ahead and try to catch them quick while it's still got some movement. And this is warm. If it's too hot for you to touch, use a silicone brush by all means. I mean, worst case, if it doesn't stick in some of those spots as it cures, I'll just put another coat on before the decal. So, I don't absolutely love it at this point. I have got resin all over my paper and my turner. I'm actually going to pick some of that up and cover it into some of those spots. I'm also going to test a batch of molds with this resin, I think. But that's it. I'm going to stop playing with it. I'm going to let it spin out and do its thing. Actually, I want to fill that little spot, I think, when it comes back around. If I can find that spot again. Alright, I'm going to let it dry, do its thing, and see how it looks after this coat is dry. And see if it's ready for decal or not, or if it's going to need another round. So I will be back. Okay, so this actually dried better than I anticipated. I'm pretty pleased overall. So I am going to go ahead and get my decal peeled and applied. Hopefully straight. And then it'll be ready for a coat of resin. I'm just going for somewhat centered. I'm just going to smooth it down from the edges. Got a little wrinkle there, but and a little bubble there. I think it'll be okay. I am not going to try and peel that off because I think I will ruin what's underneath if I do. If that was going to bother you, I would print another one at that point and put it over the top. But I don't really think it's going to bug me any, so I am just going to leave it alone and get ready for resin. I'm just going to get my top coat on this. I'm using the Diction again, just plain, nothing added here, nothing fancy. Just a thin clear coat. So I'm going to let this spin for a minute and then I will bring you down for a close-up.